What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pedal Down 4x4. And on today's episode, we're mounting this little compressor. We're doing air lockers. Okay, so if anybody pays attention to these videos, you probably notice I'm wearing the same shirt as last week's episode, and that's because it's getting shot in the same day. I wrapped up last week's episode and I'm filming this episode today. This is going to be the AirB air compressor install, as well as the wiring and the hose for the truck. So there's really not much else to do on the truck. I'm kind of just waiting right now for rough stuff. They still need to get me my these things. I need 2 more couplers, and I've ordered them a month ago. I'm still waiting on them. I'm gonna tie them into the chassis, but we're gonna go ahead and mount this AirB air compressor today. And I didn't know exactly where I wanted to put it inside the engine bay of the truck. So what I am thinking of doing is I'm gonna get my keys, I'm gonna open the truck up, and I'm gonna mount them in the extra cab portion of the truck. There's a little space in the back if you have one of these trucks, and they usually have like your little spare tire thing, your little nothing's in there anymore. So I'm thinking this compressor is small enough where I can mount this compressor in there, and that way the battery wiring run isn't too long, as well as the hose run isn't too long. I had 2 dilemmas. I could either mount the compressor in the engine bay, but because the battery's in the back, I'd have to run the wires all the way to the back, which is not a big deal. I just didn't want to do that. And then another dilemma I had was to either mount the compressor in the back of the truck. I'm not sure how weatherproof these guys are. That's one reason. And the second reason was running that airline all the way to the front of the truck. The longer of a run of airline you have, well, I mean, that's more points of failure, rubbing, it gets chipped, whatever. That's a area it can leak. So I didn't want to do that. So I think we're gonna try and mount this inside of the truck. But first, I'm gonna open up the truck, make some space, and I'll get you guys a shot of what exactly I am talking about to get that little guy in the truck. And then also, I was gonna do an onboard air system on this truck. I don't think I'm gonna do one anymore. I think I'm gonna try and run a power tank. So anybody who has a rig, I'm sure they know what a power tank is. But if you don't know what a power tank is, it's basically like a little scuba tank. It's filled up with liquid CO2, or I think it's liquid CO2. It's like 3,000 psi. There's a regulator, and then you can air up your truck with that. So I think I might do that in the back of the truck. That way I can keep the wiring to a minimum. This whole build, I wanted to keep the wiring as minimal as possible, which is why I did the wiring how I did it. The reason why I'm not going to run an onboard air. It's also the reason why I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of lights on the truck. I think it's unnecessary. You don't need a bunch of lights. This truck doesn't have rock lights. It's not a rock crawler. I mean, maybe one day if I ship it up to the mainland, it'll be a rock crawler, but don't need any of that. So we're trying to keep the wiring on this vehicle as minimal as possible. So let me open up the truck, and then I actually have somebody coming over. I have to move the 80 out, and I'm going to drain their diff and inspect it because they may have done a diff. But for now, I'll show you guys that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I had to throw some lights in here just so I can get set up because the lighting is terrible. Don't pay attention up to this bull crap, but let me hop in here. Oh, hey, geez. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. This air compressor sits pretty perfect in this part of the truck. Now there's this little hole. I have to look at where the line comes out. I can install it down here as well, but I'm not sure if the camera's looking, but I want to try and install it in here, so it's kind of out of the way. I have a straight shot to the battery, and then I have a straight shot out of here into the bottom of the truck where the axle is. But I'm gonna go look up the instructions real quick. I'm gonna go take a read, and then I'll figure out how this air compressor wants to sit, because I know some compressors don't want to be sideways or whatever. So let me go give that a read, and then I'll get back to you guys on installing this little air compressor. Okay, so I just consult the instructions on how they want this done. This is a little compressor here. This is your little solenoid. This is in a daisy chain. I'm assuming if this is, you have 2 lockers. I only have 1, obviously. So take this guy off. This is a bit of a pain with one hand, but we'll get her done. Okay, so that guy is off. What the f kind of crap is in there? And then we're gonna install this little solenoid thing on there. So let me clean that schmutz up, and then I'm going to put some Teflon tape on this fitting here. The instructions say to use Teflon paste, but I don't have Teflon paste, so they're getting what they're gonna get. They're gonna get regular, good old-fashioned Teflon tape. And I always wrap this the wrong way, so I'm sure I'm wrapping it the wrong way again. Yep, I wrapped it the wrong way. God damn it. Okay, so what way did I wrap it? I think we need to wrap it this way. This is going to be an entire video of how to use Teflon tape, or how not to use Teflon tape. I wrapped it the wrong way again. Jesus Christ. And I'm out of Teflon tape. You gotta be f***ing kidding me. Okay, so I'm back with Teflon tape again, and we're gonna try and wrap this guy. And I always do it the wrong way. I always forget how to wrap Teflon tape the correct way. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong again, I'm not gonna lie. Now, if you don't know what Teflon tape does, it creates a better seal. Alright, did it the right way this time, nice. So, I got some Teflon tape, and we're gonna screw this guy in to this port. I believe it's this port. All my wrenches currently are in the drawer, which my tires are currently blocking. So we have a very loose 1/2-inch wrench on here. A little more, there we go. So we got that in there, and now we have this pressure sensor. I believe we'll just pop onto the top of the tank. That'll let the air system know what the pressure's at. There's another port here on this part of the compressor. Do not put that port here. This is where it sucks in air. So that's just a pro tip, I guess you could say. That guy's gonna go on the top. Now, I already see an issue. This is no longer gonna fit where I want it to fit. So I'm thinking maybe we can mount it sideways in there. Also, if you are doing this, just remember, it doesn't need to be astronomically tight. The Teflon tape is there to hold it, or is to seal, to make the seal. But yeah, when you're using Teflon tape, especially for stuff like this, you don't have to go astronomically tight. You don't have to be wrenching on this thing to get it to sit down flush. It doesn't sit down flush. The threads are tapered. The Teflon will help it seal. Now, I will look into this and see if I can mount this compressor sideways, because if I can't mount it sideways, well, that whole plan just went right out the fucking window. But let me go take a look, and I also have to move the 80 out for that other Tacoma that's coming in to check his diff. So yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, so I think I found the solution to our mounting issue. I couldn't find anything about the compressor being wanting to mount it on its side or not, so I'm gonna just assume it doesn't give a shit. So this heat sink where it mounts to can actually be rotated. So I rotated the heat sink, so now it can be mounted on its side, and then I have all of its pressure fittings and whatnot. But I think we're gonna mount it like that. So it's gonna mount it just like that, and then there's 2 holes right here where I can go ahead and get a grommet and make a grommet and run the line out this way. So I think that's gonna be good. It also came with this metal plate here, so I'm gonna use that metal plate as like a template, and then I can drill through the body, and then I guess mount this plate underneath and sandwich it. I'm not sure how they want that to be mounted. They didn't say in the instructions, or I just didn't read them very good, which could also be I usually just don't read the instructions. But I'm gonna drill the body, we're gonna get this mounted up, and then we're gonna start running the airline front diff. So, and then we'll go into wiring. But yeah, let's get this done first. Okay, so I have the compressor mounted in its spot. It is solid mounted right now. No, this is not hitting anything. So that's the air compressor. It's mounted. Nothing's gonna hit it, so that's great. The wire connector's down here, and then I'm gonna go to O'Reilly's, pick up some grommets, and then I'm gonna start running the airlines. This is a prior sin that I've done, which I'm gonna cover that, and then this is probably the hole I'm gonna use. That's where that went. I was wondering where that went. But I'm gonna be using get some new grommets for these holes so I can run this nylon airline through. I've already checked to see if this airline is flexible enough to mount like this and curve down, and it is more than flexible enough without kinking, so we should be good with that. But before I do any of that stuff, there is a truck that's coming in, like I said previously. Quick job, just gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go to O'Reilly's and then come back, and then we'll get back onto the running the airline. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so I put in one grommet here and another grommet right there. Now, for those that don't know how to do these nylon push connect fittings, they're very easy. So I'm gonna regret doing this from inside of here, because I'm gonna have to unravel this whole thing and then snake it through there. But for ease of views, I guess this would be easiest. All you do, you have your little, let me get this flashlight, or I don't know if you can, there you go, now you can see it. So you take this guy right here, put it in here, and you just push it down, and that's it. So now she's tight. We're gonna run this line through that far grommet over there, and then I'll run it to the diff. But yeah, so I'm gonna just run that wire, or this line, to the diff, and then we should be good. I'm gonna put some sort of like cable protector, even though it's going through a grommet, just right there, so it doesn't get damaged or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna run this line through, and then you guys are we're gonna run it all the way to the back. Okay, so real quick, let me get this light. So now I have adjusted the solenoid to point to the side, so then it's a nice sweeping motion into the grommet. And then yeah, so everything else is the same, but I figured I'd just let you guys know. The solenoid, I turned it up, I put it upwards, I flipped it, and then it should still be the same. And I put this little protector thing over it so it doesn't rub against anything. But now we're gonna go in on the bottom of the truck, and we're gonna start running this line. Okay, so we're gonna go onto the truck. I have this dirty ass towel. I'm gonna lay it down. You can see the line coming out right through there. So this is where the line's gonna come out on the bottom of the truck. Now the diff is on this side. It's a left-hand drop, so I don't want to run it down this right side and make a long run to from there to there. I want to make it come from here to there, so down there. So in order to make that happen, I'm going to go from the top of the crossover that the drive shaft carrier bearing bolts up to. But you can't make like I mean, I guess you could try and make a quick turn like this. I guess you could, like this, maybe like that. And then we'll zip tie that. I'm going to zip tie this, and I'm going to check the angle inside, because I don't want it to be too severe of an angle for obvious reasons. Yeah, that looks pretty. You guys can't see it. Let me grab this light. That looks pretty good still, so I think we should be good. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna run it across that cross member and then off to the diff, and I'll get back to you guys when I reach the diff. But yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and finish this up real quick. Sorry, the lighting is bad again, but I'm gonna finish this up real quick. I'm gonna run it to the diff, and then I'll show you guys the connection to the diff. I got the line ran all the way back here, so you can see the line coming down. This is gonna be the air locker line. Now I'm gonna just measure. I'm basically gonna compare it to the brake line and give it a little bit extra, and then I will show you guys how to do the fitting. Well, actually, I can show you how to do the fitting right now. So the fitting for this air locker, very easy, right? So you have this little piece. This is gonna hook up to the diff like how it shows right here. But all this is, you're gonna use this little banjo bolt, one washer. Okay. This is gonna hook into the diff, by the way. This is gonna go on like this. This goes like this. This screws into the, like this, this goes into the diff. And then from here, you have this little compression fitting. This little collet will go in there, just like how it says right here, this little ferrule. I call it a collet. But that's gonna get pushed into here, and that's gonna make a compression fitting on the nylon line. So I'm gonna try to get this hooked up so you guys can see, but I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut this line. I'm gonna cut the line, and then we'll start putting it in. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit more slack, just because obviously when it goes into full flex, you don't want your airline to snap off, because then you're gonna have no front locker. But yeah, let me get this going. Okay, so I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but I'm hoping it's pretty good. But I'm gonna just compare this line right here, see how much. So thinking about this much airline, I think should be good. Get this fitting in. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to try and get this guy in there with this upper link. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. But collet, you can see it right here. This collet, or well, first of all, you need to put the nut on. So the nut is gonna go on first, like that. This little collet is gonna go in the line, like so. See how that collet is? It's sitting in there, and this is gonna smash the airline in. Okay, so now you guys can kind of see how that's gonna sit. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but here. So you can see it's just loosely tightened up, but see how that airline's like that? So now I'm gonna tighten this airline. I'm gonna hold the airline against, push it up against, and then tighten this guy, and then we'll tighten this. I think I'm gonna have it sit like this so it can flex out. But that should be more than enough space for that airline. Oh, my hat's all messed up now. But yeah, I'm gonna get to tightening that up. I'll show you guys the final product, and then we'll get into the wiring of this air locker. So yeah, I'll be right back. I'm gonna hook this guy in and then move on to wiring. Got the airline mocked up. Now I don't know if this is gonna be permanent or like that, if it's gonna get damaged or whatnot. Maybe it's too long, maybe it's too short. Honestly, I have no idea, but that's how the airline's hooked up for now, and that's how, I mean, that's how it's gonna be, I guess. So I'm gonna tie that in, and then hopefully when it flexes out, she doesn't bind up. Should be good. I'm assuming it'll be good, but I don't know. One way to find out is when we flex it out, when we go off-roading. If I lose air, then we knew it didn't work. But I'm gonna cut all these zip ties that are on the line. There's a bunch of little zip ties you can see down there. Cut the zip ties, and then we'll get into wiring the electrical, or the electric part of this air locker, and then we'll test it. We're supposed to test it beforehand. I didn't test it. It better work. Okay, so cut all the zip ties off. Now we're gonna go look at the wiring of the system. Now, if you get the ARB system right now for the CKMA 12, this is not the one that you want to be looking at. This is different. It even says it here. This is the 18409 model loom shown for reference only. Refer to your ARB air compressor installation guide for details on configuring your installation. So this is definitely not the one that I need. I went online, I looked up theirs, and this is the one that I need. So it's easier for me to just show you guys. So you're gonna have, you basically get, when you do get your system, you're gonna get 2 wiring looms. You're gonna get this really, really long wire loom, this big one, and you're gonna get this little one. So I'll go over the long one first. Now, this long one is the one that's gonna be hooking up to your air compressor. So you have right here, this is the ARB connection. Now the reason why they do it like this is so you can slide it through whatever boot you run, and then you can put it into this little terminal end, and then that will connect through the other side of the grommet with this one. Now, a lot of wire. Now here, so you're gonna have your different connections here. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think I do. This red, white, and black wire right here with this connector, that is going to be the power to the compressor. Now this green and black is going to be for your solenoid on the compressor. That's solenoid 1. And if you have a twin system, so if you're running 2 compressor or 2 lockers, the yellow and black will be for the other solenoid. This red and white and red right here, these 2 connectors, this is going to be for the pressure switch. This black wire is the ground, so you can ground this to the body or the frame. And that's going to be this long wiring harness. Like I said, for this one you need to terminate this end to hook into your tab control or your switch controls. Now this is the harness for your switch controls. This will connect to the other harness, like I said, and then right here. So you have your 12 amp connection. So this one can be, they say wire it to a switch source. I'm going to wire it directly to the battery, and I'm going to use a 15 amp fuse for it, just because I don't want to run it all the way to the fuse box. I can run it right there in the cab. I'll probably shorten up this harness as well because I don't need it to be that long. Now you have your switches. You have your switch 1 and your switch 2, as well as your isolating switch. So this is going to power on the compressor, and then these switches will be like, when you hit it, this will be your locker, so you can lock 1, lock 2. So right here, this is going to be your isolator, and then this one right over, well, this one does have you can choose which one you want, either front or back. It has a Jeep on it. Not stoked on that, but whatever, it is what it is. A or B. So that will be for your front, and that'll switch on, switch off. So for my case, I'm not going to use switch 2. So there's a wire orientation right here. It's very simple to read. It says switch 2 on it. Don't need to do that. I'll tie that up on the side. I'll be using switch 1, and then on the wiring diagram it shows you on which of these, because you know this is, you have 8 connections on there, or not 8, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 connections on here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it'll show you which ones, and it is labeled on the back of the switch, so it's really easy. Just follow which one you want to connect to. Same thing with your isolating switch, and that's pretty much it. This blue wire right here is for the dimmer. I'm not going to hook that up because I really don't give a shit if it's dimmed or not. But yeah, so I'm going to go in the truck. I'm going to start wiring from the compressor back, and then I'm going to be honest. Oh, Jesus. Everything just fell. I don't think I'm gonna go ahead and make this shorter. I'm gonna just coil it up and tie it off, just because I don't have termination points to terminate these, or not termination points. I don't have terminals pins to re-terminate. So I'm gonna just tie this up, and yeah, I'll show you guys in the cab what it looks like inside there, and then we'll start running wires. I have these switches mounted. Are they perfect? No, they are not, but that's fine. Went through the wiring diagram here and got the switches mounted up through the back side. This is next to the keyhole. You have your isolation switch, and then you have your air locker in the front. So those switches are gonna go here. Those switches are gonna go right there next to the keyhole. And then I also have the air locker all wired up there as well. So those wires are ran down through the floor all the way back here, comes up there, and then right there. So I said previously I wasn't going to run it to the fuse box just because I didn't want to go through the extra step of wiring to the fuse box. And I just realized that the power source it gets it from is from where the switch panels are and not from the back. So I will be tapping into the fuse box in one of my ATA fuses, or I'll probably go pick up another ATA fuse and wire that in. So I'm going to go ahead, wire this up, get it all put in, and then we can go ahead and test the air locker, because that should be basically it. So yeah, I'll be right back. Just gonna finish up wiring this guy, and then I'll show you guys how it looks in the truck. And I mean, everything should work, hopefully, right? I hope everything works good. If not, I'm gonna be really salty. Okay, so I hooked up the battery. The truck is now live. No fires so far, so that's great. There's a bunch of just random wires and shit, but we're gonna have these two guys off now. Let me get in here. Oh Jesus. Now if I turn this key on, okay, so that key is now on. If I hit this button, the compressor should come on. Okay, so the compressor is now on, and we're gonna hit the locker. Okay, locker works. Cool. So we're gonna take that off. You can hear that right now, and then you're gonna hear a sound when I turn it off. So locker disengages. Turn that off, and we're gonna turn off that. So that is the ARB air compressor install. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and tidy up the wires. Obviously it is an absolute mess. I didn't put anything, I didn't tidy up any of the wires in case I need to get into anything, but now that I know everything is good and everything works, I'm gonna disconnect the battery because it doesn't need to be on right now. I'd rather not have anything be sucking the battery life. And now I'm just gonna tidy up the wires like I just said. And that's it. ARB air compressor is installed for the front air locker. So now the air locker is working. Well, I didn't test it, but I'm just gonna assume it works. See how that goes. But I'm gonna disconnect the battery and then tidy up the wires. That's pretty much it for this week's episode. ARB air compressor installed, the air locker is working, all the wires are done. Next up, I'm not too sure, but when I figure out what we're gonna do next, I'll see you guys next time. And like always, thanks for watching.